I almost forgot to schedule this, so probably no one got a notification. But that's okay. I'll just ramble on for a little bit till somebody comes in here. Or I'll wait till tomorrow. Oh, what a day. So I've been over to Remain Calm's live. I gotta shut my notifications off just a minute. There we go. Who's in here? I see someone. So I've been over to Remain Calm's live the last 2 days for like 9 or 10 hours. Mary and I always have good conversations. She's a good critical thinker and has good factual information. I think we bounce off each other pretty good. And we made some exciting discoveries today. So I get you. It's just you and me. Um, so let me see. What kind of banner am I going to use today? Oh, Elijah Vu. We'll do roses. Oh, hey, Crime Crazy. Hey, Rix. Hey. Like an idiot, I got so wrapped up in all kinds of other stuff, I forgot to put that I was going live. But anyway. Wrong account. Oh, let me get comfy here. I made some. I went to Costco the other day, so I'm just going to talk here while hopefully a couple more people come in, so I'm not talking to myself. And I went for crab dip. I love their crab dip. I eat it with my Atkins Ranch crackers for breakfast. So, yeah, I walked out of there $99 later, and they didn't even have crab dip. They were out of it. So I got, among other things, I got macadamias. I forgot that. I bought some Chilean sea bass because I don't eat fish, but I asked a lady and she said it was good. So I bought it and I made that today with garlic butter sauce. It was pretty good. I might start cooking again. What else did I? Oh, I got my ship shopper to bring me some stuff for carbonara. So maybe that will be tomorrow. Okay, really, really sad news today is that they possibly found Elijah Vu's remains. I'm happy that they did find his remains, but hi, Melissa Brown. Now I'm hungry. I'm sorry. I just finished the last of it. My cat was not impressed, which is odd. I mean, one of my cats. Let's see what I'm going to do. I was going to bring up the article I posted. I think we knew the chances were he wasn't going to be alive. Oh, I can't talk about this without crying. This one hit me hard. Hi, Luca. Well, they found a diaper and a skull. I think they could tell by the skull if it was a child's or not. We'll see. Either way, even if it's not Elijah, it's someone. So someone's going to get closure. And If it is Elijah, I hope those two burn in hell. I really do. And you won't catch me saying somebody's guilty before they've been convicted. Very often. You might want to put this on your calendar, but those two are guilty as hell. I don't think there's any doubt at all. Um, I can't. I don't know why I'm tearing up. Um, this and Elijah Vu and Dear Koontz are both really, for some reason, um, really affect me. Quentin Simon too. Any little kid. I don't understand it. Um, how people don't value their children. I don't have children. I've never had children, so I guess I don't feel that way, but I feel that way about my cats. I'm assuming people would feel even more like that about their children. I don't know why I can't find YouTube on here. Sorry. I'm searching. I'm not very organized today because I've been over on that damn Remain Calms channel. Mary, if you're in here in the bushes. So we can talk about what we discovered a little bit later. And I think Kirst might show up, and she had something she wanted to talk about too. Let me see where. Okay, here's what the latest I found. I can look again. Skeletal remains of a small child have been found at Girl Scout Camp Manitou, Two Rivers, that investigators believe are those of Elijah Vu, a 3-year-old boy missing since February. Hi, Eve. All my peeps are here. The camp is located near a home once shared by Elijah, his mother Katrina Bauer, and her boyfriend Jesse Vang, who was the last person to see Elijah alive. Well, we do know that. Both Bauer and Vang are charged with child neglect in connection with Elijah's disappearance, and both have denied knowledge of his whereabouts. I believe Bauer was also charged with child neglect of her daughter. I don't know, and she had 2 misdemeanor charges of interference with law enforcement. Vang told police Elijah must have snuck out of the house while Vang was napping. Could a 3-year-old reach a doorknob? I don't know. Somebody tell me. Could he turn a doorknob? Could he unlock the door? Because he couldn't unlock my door. Investigators searched the camp twice, but because of its massive size, did not find the body, which was found Saturday in what sources call a remote area. Searchers recovered a skull that a doctor confirmed to be human, assorted other bones, and a diaper. If they searched the camp twice, and then this was the 3rd time, that makes me think they had some kind of credible lead, wouldn't you think? That they were pretty sure he was there. That's what I'm thinking. Anyway, does anybody have any more current information? Luca, what did you hear? Anybody want to come up on panel with me and chit chat? Kyle, Eve, you're getting everybody. All right. So what we're going to talk about is probably going to make me cry too. This is one of the worst cases I can imagine. I actually wondered if I should even go live with this because it's so terrible. I don't know. What do we do here? It is true crime. Okay, so this young woman's name is Amber Gibson. And what I'm going to do is go through this. I don't know, I can't merge all these articles, I think. So I'm just going to go through and read and add what I remember. So Amber, let's see how old she was. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm still crying about Elijah. Uh, this little girl had such a tragic life. She was taken. She and her brother were taken from their biological parents and placed with a foster family since she was 3 and her brother was 5. And I'm going to see how old they were now. I think he was, I'm sorry. Amber was 14. Okay. When she was 14, then she moved into a Hill House children's unit. So she was in a children's home then, which is sad. And her brother stayed with the foster family. So what happened here to her, we're going to go through this, is she was raped. And then before the trial for that rape, her brother raped and killed her. And then a couple of days later, the man who found her body also sexually assaulted her. Have you ever heard of anything that horrible? Uh, I How many evil people are there in the world? Really? Um, okay, I'm going to read this. This was in Scotland. We are safe now. 4 heartbreaking words used by future killer Connor Gibson after he and his younger sister Amber arrived at the home of their new foster parents, aged 5 and 3. Early childhoods scarred by abuse and violence seem to have found a happy ending. It didn't have a happy ending, and they are going to blame it. What did he admit? Oh, they have evidence on all of them, Kirsten. We'll get to that. No, he didn't admit it. No, they all got in jail, but oh, welcome, Kirst. Hello. Um, so they try to excuse this as we go on, as far as her brother's actions by how he was scarred by his upbringing until the age of 5. Okay, but tragically for Amber, nothing could have been further from the truth. Amid allegations she was failed by the care system, her own brother brutally snuffed out her young life when she was just 16. In November 2021, in Woodland in Hamilton, South Lanarkshire, Gibson removed his sister's clothes, sexually assaulted her with the intention of raping her, inflicted blunt force trauma to her head and body, and strangled her. As if that horrific killing wasn't enough, Amber would continue to be abused. Sorry, I got to turn off that. I got too many phones laying here. Amber would continue to be abused even after death, as the man who found her abandoned body committed appalling acts of his own on her remains. And just 5 months before the brutal murder, she had been raped by another man while she was in care. I've heard of a case previously where a woman was raped, and then I guess I can say that, you just can't put it in chat, right? She was raped and then escaped, and someone stopped on the road to help her, she thought, and then he raped her. How unlucky can a person get? And sometimes I think my life is unlucky, but seriously, stuff like that just makes you realize how lucky you are. And I don't know, people's situation here. Maybe you've had trauma like that. I think we've all had trauma. I actually don't know too many women that haven't been sexually harassed or assaulted, including myself, but certainly not to this extent. Predator Jamie Stars has now been jailed for 10 years and 6 months after raping Amber at his home in Bothwell in June 2021 while she was asleep or unconscious. Now, I don't know how she got into his home. He had only recently been released on bail for carrying out a similar sex attack on another teenager and has now been assessed as posing a very high risk of sexual violence. Does anybody here in the UK know if they have a sexual offender registry like we do here? Who would know that? Crime Crazy, are you still here? Born into a troubled family, both Amber and her brother were soon moved out of their parental home and into care before being placed to live with the Niven family in Larkhall. Described as the most giving, loving, supportive, and admirable young girl, Amber had shown hints of great promise. Although she had experienced immense suffering, she harbored an amazing outlook on life and loved art and singing, her loved ones said. In a statement after Gibson was convicted of murder this week, former foster father Craig Niven said when they arrived at our home, Amber, age 3, and Connor, aged 5, Connor stated, "We are safe now." They were until he took her safety away. The couple was granted permanent care of the siblings a few years later, yet concerns were soon raised about the children's behavior. Giving evidence during the trial, Mr. Niven said he would not leave the two alone together as they were not a good mix. See, already he didn't trust the brother around her. Maybe that's why they moved her out of the home. Why didn't they move him out of the home? When Amber was just 14 years old, the foster care arrangement broke down and she moved into Hill House Children's Unit while her brother remained with the Nivens. Okay, thanks, Crime Crazy. No. And I know the UK, and Australia, and to some extent Canada, have very protective laws for criminals. I mean, even murders. Look at the little Jamie Bulger. They were given different, new identities and hidden. And then one of them continued to committing crimes. It was while she was being looked after by social services that Amber was raped by Jamie Stars at his home in Bothwell in June. The 20-year-old was on bail at the time for another sex attack and was found guilty of the assault on Amber earlier this month. Her brother had remained a constant presence in her life, despite describing their relationship as turbulent. Amber's friend told jurors she had been looking forward to seeing him in the hours before she was killed. And I did read that in another article that the people at the home tried to talk her out of it because it was bad weather, but they said she was so excited to be going to see her brother, which was even more tragic. At the time, he was a resident at Hamilton's Blue Triangle Project, a hostel for homeless youngsters. Now, this is after because he aged out of the foster home, I guess. Wait, she was 14, 15, 16, 17. After Gibson called the Hill House unit to speak to his sister, care home manager Ian Curry attempted to discourage her from leaving, but his efforts fell on dead ears. No. You know, that's too bad. And I just ran ours. Sorry, I'm rambling and disjointed here. Um, I run my apartment complex every so often, and just last month I found one um, in one of these buildings. The last time I found one was quite a while ago, years ago, and he was registered here, but he wasn't on the lease. He was living with his parents. So I'm pretty sure they evicted him. Okay. CCTV footage, and if I could share screen, I'd show you this picture. Shows him walking. Showed the two of them walking, and then it shows him returning home after he murdered her. CCTV footage shows the two walking along the streets of Hamilton with one another, with Amber later sending a selfie of the two, captioned "My Big Bro." It was the last time anyone would hear from her. Isn't this just so tragic? It's hard to fathom. Gibson would later return in a disheveled state and tell a project worker, "Hey, Madam X. Hey, welcome." Gibson would later return in a disheveled state and tell a project worker that he and his sister had argued. Footage of him returning from the scene showed him slumping in exhaustion against a metal barrier before disposing of his blood-stained clothes. See, he didn't think it out. I wonder if he had it planned. He must have, because he called her, right? Does anybody want to come up? Eve, do you want to come up? Crime Crazy? Amber's naked body was discovered in Cadzo Glen on November 28th with her underwear forcibly ripped and significant blunt force trauma visible to her head and body. He beat her to death. In a cruel and sickening twist, her killer later took to social media to write, "Amber, you will fly high for the rest of time. We will all miss you, especially me. I love you, Ginger Midget. Goodbye for now, X." He's a sick fuck. He was arrested a day later, and charged with her murder. Oh, it was quick. However, the mistreatment of Amber did not stop the moment her life was taken. Her body was discovered by 45-year-old Stephen Corrigan, who intimately touched her private parts rather than contact the emergency services. His DNA was discovered on 39 areas of her body. 39. Including her breast, buttocks, and thighs. During his trial, Corrigan mounted the special defense of alibi and claimed that he had stayed the night at his elderly father's address and played video games. How did he explain the 39 areas of DNA? Well, I can't get people's background records and stuff, you guys. I'm sorry, because it's in the UK. I can get addresses and phone numbers from the UK, but I can't get background reports. I'm sorry. His father, William Corrigan, confirmed his son had injured his arm by falling on ice because it is winter. Remember, the weather was bad, and had asked to stay over. He also admitted to jurors that he couldn't be sure what his son was up to while he was at the bookmakers. Lovely. Corrigan claimed he was at a loss as to why his DNA covered Amber's body. and was later convicted of attempting to defeat the ends of justice in breach of the peace. Describing her murder as depraved, I'd say at the very least, Judge Lord Mulholland told both men that they faced lengthy sentences for their appalling crimes, with neither showing emotion in the dock. For the Foster family, who had tried their best to raise and protect them, they stated that both siblings had been let down by the system, adding, "As a family, we all feel this could have been prevented. We now have one daughter buried in Lark Hill Cemetery and another child in prison." I wonder what caused her to be removed from their care. So let's see. Here we have the man who raped a teenager 5 months before she was murdered by her brother has been jailed. These all three men were convicted, thankfully. Jamie Starrs, 20, assaulted and raped Amber Gibson while she was asleep or unconscious at a property in Bothwell. I'd be curious to know how she ended up from the home at his. She's 14, he's 20. He was found guilty at the High Court in Lanark in July, and on Tuesday, he was sentenced to 10.5 years in prison. He was also convicted of raping another teenage girl in Bothwell in May 2021. So that's 2 months before her. Amber, 16, was sexually assaulted and murdered in November by her brother, Connor Gibson. He was convicted last month following a separate trial at the High Court in Glasgow. Detective Con Ross McCaig told the jury at Starr's trial he had taken a statement from Amber about the attack. She said she met Starrs, who was a stranger to her, and two others before heading to Bothwell. The court heard that Amber revealed she had been attacked while in a supported accommodation unit in Blantyre. A teenage boy had told staff, who alerted police. Okay, so what's a supported accommodation unit? Is that sounds like some kind of halfway house, maybe? Amber told officers, "The reason I think I was raped was that I woke up in a bed with no clothes on my bottom half, with a boy I had only met naked under the covers. I can't remember hugging him or kissing him at all." Sounded like she was drugged. Amber identified her attacker after being shown a board of photographs by police. Detective Inspector Lorraine Wilson, Division's Rape Investigation Unit, said Amber's evidence was key in securing his conviction. The other victim told the court she had been attacked by Starrs while she was drunk and unable to give consent. The court heard that Starrs attempted to pervert the course of justice by sending threatening messages on Facebook to a boy linked to the second girl. He tried to get this boy, who cannot be named for legal reasons, to pressure the female into withdrawing her as evidence. As well as his prison sentence, Judge Thomas Welsh ordered Starrs to be supervised for 2 years on release. So he got 10 years and 2 years probation for 2 rapes. At the High Court in Edinburgh, the judge said, "You have been convicted of appalling crimes against 2 innocent teenage girls, and you have been assessed as being a very high risk of sexual violence on release." I should have said trigger warning at the beginning of this. I apologize. "I am required to take into account your age and difficult upbringing. However, the crimes remain serious and grave, and I will impose an extended sentence." He said he would have ordered 11 years to be served in custody, but reduced this to 10.5 because of time served. Starrs, who appeared via video link from custody, has been placed on the sex offenders registry indefinitely. Well, evidently you do have a sex offender registry then in Scotland. He was also found guilty of attempting to pervert the course of justice in a breach of bail conditions. Gave him bail? Um, okay, here's some things about the laws, sentencing guidelines, and Michael Meehan, who represented Stars, highlighted that the sentence must take into account sentencing guidelines for under 25s. The guidelines state that people aged under 25 in Scotland should be given lesser sentences because of their emotional immaturity and the fact that they have a greater chance of rehabilitation. Well, that's interesting. I think they know what the hell they're doing way before 25. And I wonder how they arrived at that age. Mr. Meehan said a report identified that stars show cognitive and emotional immaturity. Hell, a lot of adults have emotional immaturity, but they don't go out and rape people. Mr. Meehan also urged the judge to consider his client's adverse childhood experiences. He told the court that Stars was removed from parental care at the age of 3. Well, so was Amber, and developed addiction issues from the age of 9. He has a traumatic background from a young age. I can see where this is going. He's got a traumatic background. The brother's got a traumatic background. What about the victim here? She had a traumatic background and a traumatic present. I don't know. I totally believe in. Okay, babe. Thanks. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't think your upbringing is an excuse. I really don't. Other than, well, I guess sexual abuse. They say not all um sexual abuse victims uh commit sexual abuse, but all sexual abusers were sexual abuse victims. I do believe that. That does make sense. And kudos to those that overcome them. I can't imagine. He has a traumatic background from a young age. Okay, we're still talking about the first rape, which perhaps gives some degree of explanation. He was vulnerable to negative influences and had a chaotic lifestyle. So that means he ran with a bad crowd, right? What about personal responsibility here? Oh, the sentencing comes a fortnight after Connor Gibson, 20, was convicted of attacking his sister Amber in Cato Glen, Hamilton. He was found guilty of removing her clothes, sexually assaulting her with the intention of raping her, inflicting blunt force trauma to her head and body, and strangling her. This is just, I don't know, unbelievable. So here we go. Cursed, if you're still in here. Man accused of touching Amber Gibson's body had gap in phone record. None of these people are criminal geniuses, thank God. Stephen Corrigan is accused of inappropriately touching and concealing the teenager's body after it was discovered in Cadzo Glen. Jurors have been shown an analysis of data from mobile phones belonging to the man accused of inappropriately touching the dead body of teenager Amber Gibson. Computer expert James Borwick gave evidence at the murder trial, discussing a report he had produced after analyzing 2 of the man's mobile phones. Stephen Corrigan, 45, is accused of discovering the teenager's body, but instead of alerting emergency services, he is alleged to have inappropriately touched and concealed her body. So he hid it too. Her body was found 2 days later. So let's see. Jurors were shown the report for more than 2 hours, which detailed that one of the phones was connected to a Wi-Fi network called the Do Kit during much of the weekend in question. This network was at the address of Corrigan's father, William Corrigan. However, there was a period on the afternoon of Saturday when the phone was connected to a mobile Wi-Fi device, and it was not possible to determine its location. Ms. Anderson asked the witness about phone call data and where the calls took place. She said you only found 2 occasions where the phone was in the Hamilton area, the 3rd of November and the 16th of November. Mr. Borwick replied yes. His report was read out to the jury with the conclusion saying none of the cell sites were connected with Cadzo, Glen, or Hamilton. Okay. Now I'm lost. In the points of time that the mobile is connected to this mobile device, do you know where it is? Okay, saying there's gaps where he can't tell where he is. I would question having 2 phones, but I have 3, so actually 4. Don't ask. Prosecutors allege this is back to her brother. He compressed the teenager's neck with his hands and strangled her with the intention to rape her. So apparently he did not actually rape her, but it said her shorts were forcibly torn from her body. She probably fought like hell. Well, he did. November 22nd, Corrigan attended a hospital appointment where he was diagnosed with an incomplete dislocation of one of his shoulders. The accused man said his DNA could have been on Amber's body before she died. Good luck with that. Yeah, the brother took his clothes off, and there's a picture of him putting them in a trash bin. Okay, so here we go to the system. Trigger warning. Thank you, Crime Crazy. From what I've learned from our UK friends, there isn't a registry at people's criminal histories aren't open. Okay. None of the whole criminal history isn't. Okay. 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 That makes sense. Okay. Then they did an inquiry to see if the system and the children's home was at fault in this. I can. That poor girl. She lived a life of hell, in my opinion. Let's see. The forensic pathologist who carried out the postmortem examination told the court Amber was found covered in mud and the cause of death was compression of the neck. I wonder if she was covered with mud because of the guy that hit her body. Jurors also heard other forensic evidence that widespread blood staining on Gibson's jacket, which they did recover because he was on CCTV, disposing of it, was compatible with Amber, and his DNA was also found on her shorts, worn as underwear, which had been forcibly torn off. An independent review of the teen's death, ordered by the local authority, is set to be concluded in a move to determine if lessons can be learned from the incident. So they're doing it CPC. This been a truly tragic case, and our thoughts remain with all those who knew and loved Amber. There are established procedures in place for tragic events of this nature, which are designed to ensure that events are fully understood and, if necessary, learned from. Okay, so then we have this last one. And imagine this. The review says the murder could not have been predicted. Um, she must not have been afraid of her brother, although the foster dad wouldn't leave them alone together. So he saw something there. Imagine being so excited to meet her brother. Okay, the murder of a teenage girl by her brother could not have been predicted by professionals involved in their care. 16-year-old Amber Gibson, and we already know all this. A couple who fostered the children previously said they had been let down throughout their lives by the system. Well, they lived with you, right, for 11 years. Did you let them down? South Lanarkshire Child Protection Committee has now published an independent review into the case. It makes a number of recommendations and identifies areas where lessons can be learned. Oh, yeah. Hi, Madam X. I'm sorry I didn't say hello. So the court heard that the 21-year-old had strangled Amber, then got rid of his clothes, and called the children's home where she was staying to pretend she was still alive. The report said that both her and her brother had been seriously affected by the extreme trauma they had experienced until they were removed from their birth parents. So she was 3 and he was 5 then. The independent learning review said that all the professionals who worked with Amber and her brother had their health and well-being at the core of their work. I wonder if their system is any better or different than ours is. It said they worked hard to engage with both siblings when they were worried about their safety. But it added that both children struggled to cope with changes to the social workers and other professionals dealing with them after 2018. The report concluded that Amber's death could not have been predicted by those involved in their care, but it did identify practice in organizational learning and made a number of recommendations. A decision was taken in 2011 that the two children should not be staying together. Okay, that's why she was moved to the home. And that an alternative placement should be found for Connor. So why didn't they move him out of the home? However, there was no evidence that alternative accommodation was looked for, and they both continued to live in the same care placement. Well, I guess the system isn't any better than ours. So they said they shouldn't be staying together, but yet they left them together. Although I guess leaving them together wasn't the cause of this because they weren't living together at the time. Well, that's about all I have for that. Um, that took longer than I thought. I wasn't thinking I was going to be on here that long. Okay, so now let's move along to um Summer Wells. Oh, I should go over the rest of PG, my notes on PG, but I didn't have that ready. I was over and remained calm the last 2 days for 9 hours, I think. And as we were kicking things around, I happened to mention PG because we were talking about when police were questioning after Summer went missing. We covered before that too. But someone said that the police brought Candace a bottle of liquor. So, yeah, we kind of dismissed that. But then I happened to think PG had said that she was on the phone with Don when Candace was being questioned, and she knew everything that Candace was asked. Does anybody else remember that? Is anybody else in that live? She said, "Yes, I sure do. I heard everything they asked her." Um, so Mary, remain calm, said, "Well, that means that PG knew Don before Summer went missing." Yes, it did. Absolutely. Why didn't we put that together before? I like it when Mary and I put our heads together. So that explains why Don, in my opinion, why Don let PG, go over and sub up to PG so you can get into members only live about me tomorrow. I'm sure there's going to be one. So that explains why Don let PG completely take over his persona, his, writing things for him to say, writing letters that were allegedly from him, managing him actually from then on. And, I wondered how that came about. How did she get in there? But she must have known. She also said that she was on the phone with Don when EquiSearch was there, and that Candace kept hitting Don. And I know Candace, other people have told me that too. While they were talking with, Luca, just listen. While they were talking, other people have told me while they're talking to Don that Candace is right at his shoulder, all upset. Who are you talking to? She doesn't like him talking to other women. Which I can understand. He did talk to a lot of women. But she said she was on the phone with him. Don walked away. And that's when Candace hit him in the head and busted his eardrum. So that was the day after. When did EquiSearch get there? So PG said she met Don on Facebook 2 weeks after Summer went missing, right? But yet she has all these stories to tell about the day after Summer went missing. Oh, no, you didn't goof it up. You're okay, hon. So now I'm thinking back to Jody Sue. And who just put that out about Benny talking on the phone about PG? Kirst, you sent that to me. Who was that? Oh, Jody Sue put that out. Everybody go watch that. They're talking about Doolittle Talks. And she did a thing showing that PG was Martha Morrison from Cleveland, Tennessee, which is not true. But she put a picture of that, of Martha with her son Dustin and his ex-wife and said that that was John Davis and Brandy. Does anybody else remember that? It did look like John and Brandy. But anyway, that's what they're talking about in this phone call. Did you see Dee and Dustin? So then Benny talks about talking on the phone with PG, and he said he's talked to her son a few times. Because PG lives with her son. And then what did he say? I forget. Oh, then Jody Sue said that she knew PG from the very beginning. So I'm going to have to think about this for a while. Where did PG come from? Where did she come from? And she came out as Isabella Bible at first, before she was Sissy Bible. I've got some clips of Benny talking about her because he knew her, and I'll play those later. And Don yelling at her. Remember? Who the fuck are you? Who are you, really? But they won't talk about her. She has something on Don. She has something on Don. No one can convince me of otherwise because they won't talk about her. Nobody will talk about her, actually, except for Benny. There's some reason why Don won't talk about her. So if she did know him before summer, it's something before summer, I think. I wonder what he shared with her. I wonder what their connection was. I wonder how they got in contact with each other if it was before summer went missing. I know that PG is the one that introduced Benny to Don. So how did she hook up with Benny? I just think it's really interesting. And now I'm going to have to think about that. Put that into some other things. So, hey, go over and sub up to Remain Calm. We got some good chats going over there in her chat. Her chat's pretty similar to mine. She lives in the state of Ohio, Madam X. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that right now. But things are disappearing. Things are being deleted. I went back to look at her son's Facebook page tonight, and I can't find it. And I think somebody else saw it, sent me a picture of it, so I must be blocked. What's going on? What's going on? Why is it such a big secret? And why, her people over there are so big on outing everybody else, doxing everybody else, talking about everybody else. And PG does that too. But yet they're all like, what's the big deal? Who cares who she is, what she looks like? Well, you seem to be really interested in everyone else. I don't know. Okay, so that's about all I have to say. I just wanted to do a quick live. Thought maybe if I do little shorter ones, people will listen more to them. Anyway, I hope Amber's at peace now because she certainly didn't get any here on Earth. And so many children, autistic children especially, don't seem to have a very long life. And I'm not talking about Sebastian. I'm talking about these dozens of children just in the last few months that have been found in water. And how did they get out of the house? If you have an autistic child, that wouldn't you take better care of them? Wouldn't you make sure they couldn't get out? How much trouble is it to put a lock, a deadbolt, high up on the door where a 3-year-old can't reach it or a 4-year-old? Wouldn't you do that much for your child? Was so many of them because Bob's and I send them to each other when we see them. There's so many of them that I actually started thinking, how many of these are accidents? I hate to think that, but you could say that. You could say your child got out, right? And liked the water and wandered down to the stream. I don't know. I hate to think that, but yet I just can't believe that so many parents are that neglectful and careless about their children. I take better care of my cats than some people take care of their children. So anyway, that's all for tonight. Thank you to my mods. Thanks to everybody else for being here. It's always a pleasure. And I'll talk to you, I don't know, later on in the week. Next week I'm headed to New York, so if I don't see you this next week, it'll be 2 weeks. But I'm going to work on my green eyes live, which should be interesting because he had a lot to say and I can debunk all of it. So I need to figure out how to share screen, and I will do that this week, I promise. Oh, you're welcome, Luca. Night Rakes, Night Madamax, Crime Crazy Eve. Who else is still here? I think Kirst is gone. Luca, did I mention you? Love all you guys. You're so great. I love all my subs. And we'll talk to you later. Bye.